Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Pride Day, happy Pride Month.
Hey.
And we are going to start by singing hymn number 323, Break Not the Circle. Welcome to our community church, Unitarian Universalist. I am your worship associate for the morning, and it is a joy to be with everyone in person and who are joining us online. So it is Pride Month here in New Orleans, and it is Pride Month across the world, and it's a joyous weekend. So who are we as a community church? We are a progressive, open-minded, and inclusive religious community. We welcome all who are on a spiritual search for truth and meaning. Our faith in action, ours is a faith in action as we do the work of social justice and elevate compassion in our quest to live ethically, recognizing the inherent worth and dignity of every being. So I encourage you to look to your weekly email and announcements to see some of the activities ahead. It's approaching summer, so a lot of things are winding down. As many of you know, my ordination ceremony is Sunday next week. We have service at 10 a.m., or 11 a.m., excuse me, as we always do. And then the ordination is later at 3 o'clock. As Reverend Steve Crump says, if Unitarians do high church, this is it. So we are going to have Reverend Melanie in the house, Reverend Jim Vanderweel, UU Minister Leslie, Reverend Jane Malden, Reverend Steve Crump, Reverend Nathan Ryan, and Reverend Jalen Scott, who will be leading the ordination. So I look forward to being with all of you next week. So our guest speaker today is Alexa Milano, and we're so happy to have her with us. Alexa is an ABA behavioral therapist, which is an applied behavior analysis, which typically focuses on the spectrum of autism disorders. She is also an actor, stage performer, oracle intuitive reader, and wedding officiant. So welcome, Alexa. As customary, we are going to do our land acknowledgement. We acknowledge and pay tribute to the original inhabitants of this land. The city of New Orleans is a continuation of an indigenous trade hub on the Mississippi, known for thousands of years as Bulbancha. Tribes that have lived on this land include the Caddo, the Natchez, the Choctaw, the Chitimacha, Puma, Tunica, Biloxi, Atacapa, Ishaq, among others. We recognize that as a result of broken treaties and involuntary removals, Native Americans were often forced from their lands, and we remember and pay respect to the communities impacted by these actions. Native peoples have lived on this land since time immemorial, and the resilient voices of Native Americans remain an inseparable part of our local culture. With gratitude and honor, we acknowledge the indigenous nations that have lived and continue to thrive here. My opening words, I would like to share a couple favorite RuPaul quotes with some commentary from the National Citizen Service of London. So, if you can't love yourself, how in the hell are you going to love someone else? So, National Citizen Service says, we can get an amen to this. It's probably the most famous of all RuPaul quotes, and for good reason. It's just true. Loving yourself fully can sometimes be a pretty tough thing to do. So the more we can shower ourselves with good thoughts, vibes, and feelings on the inside, the better we can project it to others on the outside. And at the end of the day, you're stuck with you your whole life. So it's a good idea to be kind to yourself. RuPaul is also known for saying we are all born naked and the rest is drag. Essentially, we're all the same. It doesn't matter our gender, race, faith, beliefs, where we're from, or what we do. Everything that makes up your life is something that you create on a blank canvas. The same blank canvas as every single other person in the world. Drag is everything, from the clothes you wear and the makeup you use to the books you wear and the sports you play. It's everything you do with how you present yourself to the world. Amen. Amen. Thank you. And now is the time we light our chalice. We light this flame, and is the title, and the music is by Bert Brunson.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Happy Pride Month. I'm going to share with you this morning this wonderful book I found. It's called Bling Bling. Throw glitter, not shade. Blaine loved to shine. Well, actually, he loved to sparkle. Blaine was all about bling. Throw glitter, not shade, he always said. He embellished his school uniforms, he bedazzled his book bag, he added sequins to his baseball cap. Even his eyes twinkled. Blaine was a shining star everywhere he went. He spread happiness like confetti, especially at Freedom Elementary School. For the T-ball game, he glued rhinestone to the team's jerseys, handed out shimmery sneakers, laces, and whacked a home run. "Who's that?" a new kid asked. "That's Blaine," Sue replied, "our flashiest player." "What's with all the glitz?" "Blaine loves bling," Sue said, "just like I love orange." Blaine hung dazzling reader book posters in the library, gave a metallic bookmark to each kid at checkout time, and stuck glossy stickers to their shirts. A library volunteer stared. "Who's that kid?" "That's Blaine," said Alberto. "The brightest kid at school. Why is he dressed like that?" "Blaine wears blings like I wear high tops." And bring your family to movie night. Blaine sewed spangles to his suspenders and added tinsel to the concession stand and served cupcakes with sparkly sprinkles. "Who's he?" asked Marvin's sister. "That's Blaine, the smartest kid around. Why is he so glimmery?" "Blaine's into bling," Marvin replied, "like I am into hoodies." But bling seemed to rub some people the wrong way. Blaine overheard Marvin's sister say, "Only girls wear sparkles." He saw the library volunteer roll her eyes at the sight of his favorite glitzy beads. And when the new kid pushed him and said, "Sissy," Blaine felt it on the outside and inside. It was a dark day for Blaine. On Monday, Blaine was blingless. Not one bead, bauble, or bangle. T-ball was totally blingless too. Tuesday, there was no bling in the library. Everybody checked out instead of checking out. And on Wednesday, zip, zero, no bling. And the family dance-a-thon was a big 0 too. "School is so blah," Sue moaned. "So bland," said Alberto mumbled. "So boring," Marvin muttered. Without bling, Freedom Elementary School was losing its shine, and so was Blaine. Even the twinkle had gone from his eyes. Something had to be done. So the next morning in the library, Marvin pulled off his hoodie, showing off a vest glistening with glitter. "Sparkles are for girls," his sister said. "And boys can wear bling," Alberto replied, rolling up the legs of his pants and unveiling his sequin-covered socks. The library volunteer stared. Blaine did too. "Sparkles and blings are for everyone," said Sue as she slid off her sweater, revealing a jewel-covered t-shirt. "You are all a bunch of," the new kid started to say. Then he looked around. Blaine's eyes twinkled. "You guys like bling too?" he asked. "We're your friends," said Sue. "Your pals," said Alberto. "If you like bling," Marvin began, "then we like bling." "Bling, bling, bling," the children chanted. Blaine felt sparkly on the inside and outside. Sue and Alberto talked to the library volunteer. Marvin had a sit-down meeting with his sister, and Blaine gave a sparkly gift to the new kid. His name was Walter. "Thanks," said Walter. He smiled, just a little. From that day on, everyone was free to be themselves at Freedom Elementary School. "Always remember," said Blaine, "throw glitter, not shade," and all the kids cheered. Woo! Have a good day. We can still sing the kids off, even if they're not here.
So now is our sacred time of joys and sorrows. If you were online, please write your joys and sorrows in the comments section and you can read them out loud. If you are in person, there are cards of joys and sorrows that were in the foyer when you entered. If you were not able to fill one out earlier, please feel free to do that during our musical interlude. And we thank you. So now Nicholas and the choir will lead us in hymn 169, we shall overcome. And you can remain seated. We have a few here this morning. This is from Cynthia. My uncle, Tito Ramirez, is in hospice and is in his last day. This is a monumental in the fact that he is the last of my father's and mother's generation. So we like to All right, and then we have one from Heidi. It's a joy. If you want to see happiness, come visit my puppy, who will give you unconditional love and make you laugh as he chases his ball and dives into his bed. We have another joy from Jim O'Neill. It is a joy to be in an inclusive and welcoming community. And we have this one from Bill Fernandez. Happy birthday to Lizzie Jenkins, Will Hun, both today, and Marcia Jan, birthday tomorrow. So happy birthday to 3 of us. Oh, you have a birthday?
Oh, that's good.
Yesterday. I think John had his yesterday. Your birthday. Right. And we will light 2 more candles. One for the joys still bubbling up, too new to share. And one for the sorrows that we cannot yet put words to. Know that we love you and you are in our hearts. Now is time for our offering. Community Church Unitarian Universalist is a self-sustaining congregation. Members and friends, generosity help us to do the sacred work of bringing justice, spirituality, and compassion to our community and beyond. You can give online at ccuunola.org/stewardship or by texting 504-370-2659 and text GIVE. And if you can give in person, you are able to do that as the plate is passed. As we do every Sunday, we give 50% of our plate to a cause, our congregation, and its social justice ministry support. For today, we will be supporting what we did last weekend. Unitarian Universalist Service Committee is supporting a network of people bringing trans people in danger in certain states and supporting safe transit across the country to a safer place. So we thank you for your generosity. And now, Nicholas and the choir will lead us in hymn number 318, We Would Be One, and you can remain seated. So I have a couple readings for you. The first one's a little longer, the second one's shorter. So the reading that I have for you first is from an article by Scotty Andrew, a writer for CNN. And this is an excerpt from a larger article titled, "The U.S. has a rich drag history. Here's why the art form will likely outlast attempts to restrict it." Drag is a grand dame in a glittering gown, commanding the stage with a power ballad or disco classic. Drag is also an underground performer twirling on stage to Madonna's Papa Don't Preach. It's a glitzy cast of RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars and small-town performers with dedicated local followings. It's a queen named Meatball dressed as a ghoulish exaggeration of George Santos singing the Greatest Showman anthem, "This Is Me." It's a cisgender and trans men. It's trans and cis women and non-binary people. Its performers are gay and straight. It's masculine and feminine. It's neither or both. Drag is the theatrical exaggeration of gender, said Joe E. Jeffries, a drag historian and adjunct instructor at New York University, who noted that the art form constantly subverts what people think they know about gender. At its core, drag is an art form that for over a century has affirmed and uplifted LGBTQ people who perform and enjoy drag. But this year, in particular, some U.S. states have attempted to impose legislative measures that would impact where and when drag can be performed. Drag has become increasingly visible in recent years through mainstream shows like RuPaul's Drag Race and popular public events such as drag brunches, drag bingo, and drag queen story hours in which drag performers read children's books to audiences, often at libraries. Outside of the impact recent legislative measures will have on drag performers, many fear that trans people could also be wrongly criminalized for expressing their gender in public. And all of these bills are being introduced amid a wider campaign in many states to roll back the rights of queer and trans people. LGBTQ historians and performers say drag will endure in spite of any fear-mongering and hate. Survival, they said, is baked into the art form's long, defiant legacy. New York's Harlem neighborhood is thought by many to be the birthplace of drag balls in the 1860s. There, Black, queer, and trans residents donned dresses and wigs to perform in a safe and creative environment. One of the first known people to call themselves a queen of drag was William Dorsey Swann, a former enslaved man. Swann, in 1882, began hosting guests, many of them former slaves, for drag dances at his Washington, D.C. home. When Swann confronted police in a cream satin gown after they raided one of his parties in 1888, he was arrested and charged with being a suspicious character. He was arrested several more times throughout his life after protecting queer friends during raids, according to Channing Gerard Joseph, an LGBTQ historian and Princeton University instructor, who has said he's the first academic to highlight Swann's contributions to drag history. Swann's drag dances and subsequent arrests were some of the first recorded acts of resistance in the burgeoning queer liberation movement in America, in which drag has played an essential role for more than 100 years, said Nino Testa, an associate professor of professional practice in women and gender studies at Texas Christian University in Fort Worth. The pleasure was the resistance, Testa said in a phone interview. The celebration of queer joy when it's been denied in all other spaces is activism. Even after the countercultural movement took over in the 1960s and sizable LGBTQ communities were forming in major cities, dressing in drag in public could still be dangerous. Police regularly raided gay bars in the United States until the 1960s, Jeffries said. it was illegal for bars in New York to serve a drink to a known homosexual. Despite the pervasive danger of living authentically, drag performers in this era also experimented with the traditional drag format. Queens found their own drag houses and chosen families in the process. Trans drag performers have played a key role throughout the history of the art form. Testa said, "You can't tell the story of drag without trans people." As drag grew in popularity in the 60s and beyond, many trans women found themselves performing because rampant transphobia and homophobia made it difficult to find other work. Drag was often a form of financial survival, said Testa. Drag's growing popularity hasn't come without its challenges. While recent legislative attacks like Tennessee's restrictions on public drag performance took some LGBTQ researchers and performers by surprise, Jeffrey said they shouldn't be shocked. As soon as anything gets to that level of visibility, there's going to be pushback, he noted. Drag performance, and scholars say, they believe drag is being scapegoated as a distraction from serious issues in the United States, including gun violence, poverty, and institutional racism, all of which disproportionately impact LGBTQ people, particularly Black trans women. And as bills aim to limit drag performances in public, advocates fear how they might affect trans people who are not drag performers. The rights of trans people have already come under attack in more than half of the US states, many of which have introduced bills that would restrict trans young people from receiving gender-affirming health care or from participating in a sport that matches their gender. Queer people have always found creative ways to resist the violence of their experience and norms that have tried to restrict our ability to live freely in the world, Testa said. And continues, drag is a process of that resistance. These communities formed as a response to harassment, exclusion, and violence. I'm hopeful in the sense that we've done this before. We've never stopped doing it. Drag has survived for as long as it has because it's always been a vessel for expression for queer and trans people who've had to carve out their own paths. Alaska Thunder F, a winner of RuPaul's Drag Race, said, "The great thing about drag is that the second you think you've got it figured out, it changes and turns into something else. That's why we'll always survive." And now, please join us in our next hymn, There Is More Love. And you can stand as you're able and willing. So this is a poem by Gwen Matthews titled Feel That. Feel that. Each breath, every inhale, exhale. We are living, breathing, connected. We are the whole, complete, beautiful selves that we were born to be. Feel that? In your bones, in your muscles, in your heart and your blood. That is the extraordinary you. The you who was born for this time, this place, this moment. Feel that? The struggle, the worry, the pain, the loss, the grief. It is still you. You are still whole, complete, beautiful, extraordinary. Feel that. And now it is my pleasure to have Alexa come up to the podium.
Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
How's everyone feeling?
Wonderful.
Fantastic. So, I would like to thank Pastor Mitchell for inviting me. We met through a reading. I read at Sass and Magic every Sunday from 3 to close. And I started this because I used to get a feeling. And that feeling would always come true. And that is known as intuition. And I didn't hear it at first. And as I grew older and as I went through life, I started experiencing situations where I started to know the outcome. I didn't know how, I just did. And so a friend of mine asked if I knew about tarot or oracle. I said, no, I did not. So I started delving, and it became a tool, an assistant, if you will, where questions are answered or given guidance in a way. And now I would actually like to give a collective reading, and that way I can give the most precise speech for today. Would y'all like that?
Yes.
Wonderful. Thank you for your consent. So I have different decks here, and they each symbolize a certain thing. And when I pull them out, it basically gives me a foundation, an inner message, an overview message, and a final. So this one right here is the liminal space. And a lot of times we find ourselves in those quiet moments, introspectively thinking about our decisions, what we've done in our life, and how we can change it for the better. And I like this deck because it's quite assertive sometimes. So I'm going to shuffle it. The cards can see that everyone's calm this morning, so that's a good sign. I'm going to shuffle a little bit, and usually they like to fly out, but if not, they do, and it's quite the sight, let me tell you. But if none like to fly out, I will always pick the top, the last card, and then one in the middle. So, the top one is about expanding time. I love this card. The bottom is about imagining more, and then the center, it's not about you. This is a really good message. So for a foundation, expanding time, always know that time is irrelevant because it is a construct we put on ourselves to know how many hours are there in a day, a week, a year. Picture taking a grain of sand and just placing it in front of you. That's a second right there. So the amount of activities, thoughts, feelings that you feel in a span of 24 hours, that is so much. And sometimes you can focus on the moment that you're sitting in, emotionally, physically, and mentally, and process those emotions, especially when they are bringing you down. Intrusive thoughts, I would say. Because those intrusive thoughts aren't really from you. They were said to you. They were thoughts projected to you. You might have heard something and it affected you a certain way. Those things do affect you. In the long run, it's like taking a paper and crumpling it up. You can straighten it up as much as possible, but it's still wrinkled. Imagining more. Always imagine more within yourself. Because with expanding time and focusing on yourself, you start imagining more for yourself. You start wanting to do more for yourself. It's never too late. There's always a time for everything. And the third card is it's not about you. A lot of times when we enter situations, we sometimes think that everyone around us is thinking about what we're doing. As a matter of fact, everyone is thinking about what they're doing and not really caring much about the other person. And so why should we waste time? Again, expanding time. Why should we waste time about thinking what other people are thinking about us? We are important. We are valuable. We are the most precious thing on earth. And if we connect together that way, then it just becomes better. That was the first foundation. Now let's go introspectively, inside and spiritually, and see what we gather from here. How are y'all feeling? Still good? I'm noticing a very calm energy about everyone, and that's very comforting, let me tell you. Let's see. I love this deck because this deck was actually made by a practitioner here in the French Quarter. She is the owner of Path to Awakening. It is a Black-owned business, and Fatima is an absolute joy. It was this deck, actually, that got me the job at Sassy Magic, because I would read myself daily, and the card Share Your Gift would keep coming up. And it's interesting how the universe works for you. I've been reading Friends and Family for the longest, and I was very hesitant and afraid of reading people I did not know, because you never know what would happen. And I walked in and I got the job on the spot. I realized that fear was holding me back, and I think fear itself holds everybody back from one way or another in life. I'm going to do one more because I feel like there's a message, but I'm going to pull the same top, bottom, and middle. End of a cycle. Oh, bottom one. New beginnings and learning. I feel like this is reaching out to a lot of people right now. I don't think, have y'all had readings before?
Oh, yes.
Some have not and some have. So basically it's touching upon a lot of people that an end of a cycle is coming. Every day we learn something new. And every day there's an end of a cycle. And it becomes anew. And so when we learn something new, it kind of sparks an interest or fear in us. Like, I don't understand this. Why is it this way? And that's why new beginnings are here. It's because you're taking a fresh take or a fresh start to anything that you don't understand. And that's where fear comes from. And I hate that homophobia is a word, because I wouldn't be scared of anyone who's like, no. Learning. And this is a lovely card because every day you learn something new about yourself, about others, and about the world around you. And I feel like right now it's a good time to spend at least 10 minutes a day learning something about yourself, processing your day. How did you handle a situation? Was it the best that you could have handled it? Was it something that you've known and you've done before, but you could do something better differently next time? Those kind of questions will sit with you. And that's why it's very important to do it at least 10 minutes a day. Either meditating while drinking your coffee, or just sitting out on the porch playing with your dog. Just think about the good things, the bad things, and the things that we can improve upon ourselves. Now the third deck is about crows. And I love crows because they're highly intelligent and they have a long-lasting grudge. If someone does them wrong, they will tell their children's to attack them. It's interesting. They also have their own language, which I went down a rabbit hole and found that, my goodness, they actually do. So I walk outside in the quarter and I hear crows, and I was like, oh, okay, they're safe. Someone's in trouble, they need to go save them. So now we're going to look at the overview. Sometimes the sliding cards is a soothing sound. Sometimes they like to fly out. But I think they're being tamed today because there's a lot of people sitting here. Oh, actually, correction. This card is soar. Soar as in flying high. We also have betrayal. And the one in the middle is an upheaval. Interesting cards that came out from an overview, because sometimes we may see ourselves soaring through life. Everything lines up for us. Everything just works. No questions, there's nothing you can think about. Like, it's just going right. Everything's going great. And then all of a sudden, something happens. Either a betrayal, an upheaval, something you did not expect. And at times, it comes unexpectedly, right? What can you do in those situations? Some people focus on that situation negatively and continuously spiral downwards. But whenever I tell people, and you know what, this morning, I can give you a story. This morning I woke up, my alarm did not go off. I actually woke up 15 minutes late. That's okay. I can rush in painting right quick. As I was getting dressed, my breastplate ripped. I was like, oh, great, just another thing. And yet I was still more focused on getting here and speaking to everybody, because all of the other little things may have happened. They didn't last long. It was just a moment in time that was an inconvenience. And if you hold on to those moments of inconvenience, hurt, or sadness, it starts to accumulate like a snowball effect, and it just sits in the center of your chest. And a lot of time, it starts turning into trauma because you're building it inside. And trauma is stored in the body as physical pain. So once you get sad, you feel this weight about you. You can't explain why. It's just an accumulation of constant sadness, of constant guilt, of constant shame. You've probably heard from other people, and it's not even from yourself. The upheaval is actually processing, accepting, and letting go. When things fall off, new and better things come, because what does not serve us never lasts long. And now the final message is a totem. Animals are very interesting creatures. They give us lessons through their behaviors, and that's really what it's about. Behaviors in general. When you look at people and how they behave, sometimes they tell on themselves without even telling on themselves. Isn't that right? It's interesting. And it's like, how could you say that to me? It was very rude. Or that was very shallow of you. Or that was very scary. Why would you say something like that to me? You know, and people don't think about it sometimes. The saying, hurt people. It's very true. When you are hurting inside, you want everyone else to feel on your level. May it be excitement and happiness, and it's also on the opposite side of the spectrum in anger and sadness. People want you to feel how they're feeling. And what's interesting is, whenever someone will try to do that, all you will have to say is take a deep breath and say, are you okay? Would you like to talk about it? See, people will start getting shocked about that, and I've done it before. Someone was getting in my face about something that we didn't agree on. And all I asked was, are you okay? Would you like to talk about it? And for a second, they took a breath and they were like, I'm sorry? What? Exactly. What did you just say? I said, is there something wrong that you want to talk about? Because I feel the tone that you're giving me isn't really respectful. And after a solid exchange of words for 15 minutes, their views changed and they became calmer. Why? Because they took the time to talk about it. And that's something I feel that the community lacks. It's communication. And it's just surface level. People just look and they automatically assume, so they don't feel like they need to talk about it. And it bothers me, you know? Kindness is the most important human common decency, really. It's just sad that people want to guard themselves so much that they don't want to come forth about their vulnerability because, again, fear stops them. So right here, the totem, I'm going to shuffle one. I did pre-shuffle them earlier, so I always shuffle them every morning because it grabs your energy into the cards. And here we have the animal totem. The Wren, to inspire. And this is an interesting card to come out because I hope I did inspire some of you today, if not all. My grandmother always told me that if you are good to others, good to yourself, and give no one pain, then you're living life right. Every interaction we have is a connection to another person. You may not know this person, you may only meet once, but if you are kind and genuine to them, they will remember that. A couple of months ago, there was a young gentleman who came up to me, and it was years since we've seen each other. He was quite older now, in his 30s, and this happened when I first started drag, mind you. He was a club kid going out with his friends, and someone put something in their drink, and I noticed that there was some fishy business going on trying to leave the club together. And I stopped the situation. I told the young man to go to the bathroom, wash their face, get them a bottle of water. Years later, they came back and they said, "You saved my life that night because you saved me, but that person took my friend and something bad happened." So if you have one person doing acts like this, everyone can do it. Act. Sometimes it takes a lot to speak the truth or do something that not many will do because of, again, fear. But what's fear? It's just an emotion. Just like anger is. We all feel them for about 90 seconds, let's say. After that, how do you feel? Oh, why did I think that way? I could have done something about it. I could have said something. It's kind of like those moments where after an argument you go home and you're like, I should have said that. That would have been great to say. Why not say it? Sometimes it's best to say the things that are unsaid because they're meant to be said, especially when you really, really want to say it. Truth hurts, especially when it's for growth. That's how we all feel. Especially growing older, my grandmother kept saying, "Oh, I wish I did this and I wish I did that." I said, "Well, why aren't you doing it?" And she said, "Well, it's too late." I said, "It's never too late. It's today. We have today. We have a couple of hours from now. We have tomorrow and the next day." And I tell you what, since then, we took trips together. We would go on hikes. It was fantastic up until she got a cast and said, "That's it, I'm not walking anymore." I miss her very dearly, and I believe a lot of times when I do readings, I really sense her spirit with me. And speaking of spirits, recently I actually gave a reading to someone who had recently lost someone, and I gave that lady a reading a couple of months prior. And it's interesting how you can sense someone when you've connected with them. Even if you're miles away, you are still connected to a person. That's how when friends grow together and then kind of separate, when y'all get back for that catch-up period, don't you feel like no time has passed at all? Again, time is irrelevant, it's what you make of it. So, the end message that I would like to leave, I'm going to leave it to the cards. There was so many things I wanted to talk to you all about, but I figured, why not use the cards and show how the message can come out on its own? The final, see, you know what? The cards really wanted, this is lovely. And I'm going to show you this card. This card is called Welcome to the Liminal Space. And this card is very high in its meaning because everyone here has had an awakening moment today. You learned something new. You got things that are affirmed to you and confirmed. We are all here because we want the same thing. We want kindness, community, love, and resilience. All of us. And we live each day just so we can have a calm sense of self. And that's why we congregate here, to enjoy our time together. I cannot tell you how much I've enjoyed this moment with you guys. Thank you so much. If there's anything that I can leave you with is, don't let it hurt you too long. Again, time is irrelevant. Take your time, there's no rush, and do the things that you wanted to do, because guess what? There's still time. Thank you.
As Alexis doing that, Charles is always already extinguished, but before I read our benediction, I'll just read our chalice extinguishing words. We extinguish the chalice here that it might glow gently in our hearts, and may it light your path as we leave this place. May it guide your way until we are together again. So we'll do the benediction, and we will go right into our hymn, number 170 after that. We are gentle and good people. Thank you again, Alexa. Closing words are by Julia Corbett Haymeyer. In the face of hate, we answer the call of love. In the face of exclusion, we answer the call of inclusion. In the face of homophobia, we answer the call to LGBTQ rights. In the face of racism, we answer the call of justice for all races. In the face of xenophobia, we answer the call of pluralism. In the face of misogyny, we answer the call of women's rights. In the face of demagoguery, we answer the call of reason. In the face of religious intolerance, we answer the call of diversity. In the face of narrow nationalism, we answer the call of global community. In the face of bigotry, we answer the call of open-mindedness. In the face of despair, we answer the call of hope. As Unitarian Universalists, we answer the call of love now more than ever. May it be so, and amen. And now we sing our hymn, number 170. We are a gentle and great people.
We are
welcome for coffee. And then also, if you're interested, and I know a couple of you have already told me you are, Alexa's going to stay here in the sanctuary and by donation do one-on-one tarot card readings if you're interested. And otherwise, see everyone for coffee.
Right before y'all leave, if you'd like to take a seat, this is something that I like to do after every reading, and I feel like it brings a good sense of calm afterwards. So on the count of 3, I would like everyone, excuse me, everyone to take a deep breath with me, and I'm going to ring this bell. The vibration and the sound of the bell is meant to bring a sense of calm, so I hope you join me in this sense of calm together. All right? On the count of 3, 1, 2, 3. How do you feel? I love that. I usually say delicious, but Chemi's is just as good. Thank you so much.